welcome.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're
Hi, I am too. I'm visiting the museum today.
Wonderful.
And you know what? I got a pass to the museum, one free admission from Bennington Free Library. So I'm going
wonderful.
to...
We like library admissions. Your zip code, please.
05201.
From Bennington.
Yes.
Here's a sticker.
All right. And your name is Jason,
My
right?
name is Jason.
And are you usually at the front desk, Jason?
I am. I run visitor services and our store.
Hey, thanks.
You're welcome.
And when children come, what is it like? Do we do anything different for kids?
Sometimes, if it's a first time, I'll start to write down some items on the gallery guide to say this is what to take an extra interest in while going through the galleries. And then we've got these awesome family-friendly labels that are throughout all the galleries that I like to point out as well.
We'll have to check it out. Thank you.
You're welcome and have a good time.
Thank you. Hey, hi Gina, how you doing?
Good. Welcome to Bennington Museum. It's great to see you here today.
Oh, I love visiting the museum, and I especially love seeing you. Can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Dina Mallory, and I'm the Director of Public Programs here at Bennington Museum.
Aha. So, do you do things for children?
We do lots of things for children. We, first of all, children can come and visit us for free.
Oh, yay.
And their grown-ups, of course, can borrow the museum pass from the library.
Yes.
And that gets 2 grown-ups in for free, and the kids are free anyway. And we have all kinds of fun programs that we do for kids. And a little bit later, I'm going to show you a part of the schoolhouse that is especially exciting for kids.
Great. Well, I'm wondering if we could take a look at the church gallery.
Sure.
I've heard so much about it.
That's a great place to start because, you know, most museums collect things. And one of the great things about this museum, about Bennington Museum, is that everything we collect has to do with Bennington. It helps tell the story of Bennington. And in the church gallery, we'll see lots of different collections.
Great. I think that's why I love that gallery so much.
Oh yeah, there's something for everyone.
Good stuff.
Let's go check it out.
Okay.
So a collection is a group of things that have something in common, right? So you might have maybe a collection of rocks or a collection of cool pencil sharpeners. At Bennington Museum, we have all different kinds of collections that, as I said, all have something to do with Bennington. Either they're things that were made here, or they belong to people that live here, or maybe they were made by artists who lived here or visited here. Mm-hmm. So one of my favorite collections, of course, is our collection of toys. Oh. And you can see some of them in here. There's a collection of dolls.
Do you have a favorite?
A favorite doll?
Or just a favorite toy in this collection?
Favorite toy? Well, I love miniature things, and I love the dollhouse that's in here. And one of the things I love about the dollhouse is that I think somewhere in there, there's even a toy tea set. So in the miniature, there's another miniature. There's a baby doll in there and a itty bitty toy train in there. And we've got all kinds of other collections in here as well. There's a collection of sewing machines over here. And these sewing machines are itty bitty, some of them.
Yeah, and there was lots of sewing going on in Bennington a
Oh, sure.
long time ago. So I can see why these are here. And there's lace next to it, so all kinds of different fabrics.
And then over here is another one of my favorite collections, and this is the collection of musical instruments.
Certainly, Bennington is filled with music.
Oh, yes.
Especially on Friday nights.
That's right. We have our
in the
concert
summer.
in the Courtyard series, and we always have activities for kids at those. Yeah, and my favorite instrument in here is that harmonica back there, because it's a triple harmonica. It's
Oh.
got 3 different mouthpieces on it.
Oh, it must sound so wonderful. Well, I think my favorite next to the toy case is the redware and the different types of pottery in this case. I know that Bennington is really known for pottery, and some of these are really early pieces.
Yeah, some of these are, and we have a whole gallery, which is a museum word for, you know, one of the rooms where we show things. So this is the church gallery, but we have a whole gallery that's called the Pottery Gallery. And I bet you can guess what that's full of. That's full of pottery that was made in Bennington.
know. So this is only a small portion of your collection.
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. This is a story I really like. It's all about collections. It's called Hannah's Collections, and it's by Martha Jocelyn. Hannah loved to collect things. She found new treasures wherever she went. Her room was starting to look like a museum. When her teacher made an announcement one Friday, asking the children to bring in a collection to share with the class, Hannah was a bit worried. How could she choose just one collection to bring to school? Every collection was her favorite. Hannah had more buttons than anything else. She had 153 buttons. She counted them every time she found a new one. She sorted them in cupcake tins, sometimes by size, sometimes by shape, sometimes by color. Since she had started collecting, Hannah had eaten many popsicles and saved all the sticks. She arranged them in patterns of triangles, X's, and lines. I love popsicles. Maybe I'll start a popsicle stick collection. Hannah also found things with their own patterns from nature. She had picked up 43 seashells on the beach last summer, and each had a different design. So did the shell of her pet turtle, Davy. Hannah's 19 feathers had spots and speckles and stripes. Her 10 leaves had crisscrosses and curves and points. Hannah chose barrettes with matching designs for Ellie. She could never decide if she had 14 barrettes or 7 pairs of barrettes. But when she and Ellie got dressed up, they looked very fancy indeed. That must be Ellie, her elephant. Altogether, Hannah had 24 little creatures. She let Ellie look after the elephant family, who lived in the chocolate box. The others stood in a long row along her shelf, lined up from the tallest to the smallest. Hannah also collected jewelry. She had 5 rings. Sometimes she wore all of them on one hand, or she might wear 4 on one hand and 1 on the other, or 3 on one hand and 2 on the other. And Hannah still had more collections to choose from. Which one should she take to school? Hannah thought and thought. Finally, she pressed her fists against her eyes until she saw fireworks. Then she had an idea that would solve everything. She borrowed a tray from the kitchen. She found the glue bottle in the cupboard. She gathered up sticky tape and thumbtacks and cardboard and string and rubber bands. I wonder what she is up to. She needed a lot of buttons, some feathers, a couple of leaves, and several seashells, a few little creatures, and most of the popsicle sticks. She used 10 coins from Uncle Matthew's travels, 9 special erasers, 8 keys that didn't lock things anymore, 7 stamps from faraway places, 6 pieces of striped candy, 5 clothespins that she kept in a polka dot bag, 4 fake ladybugs, 3 miniature books, and 2 weird wallets. Hannah worked all weekend on her smart idea. "And now," said Hannah on Monday, "I have one thing to take to school. It's the first piece in my new sculpture collection." The end. I love that Hannah finished her project by making a sculpture out of all of the things that she had in her collections. Do you know what's different about a sculpture versus a painting?
Tell me.
Well, a painting is flat, right?
Oh, right.
And if you were able to walk around the other side of it, you probably wouldn't see anything on it. You'd just see the back of the canvas or a frame.
Yeah.
A sculpture is something that's three-dimensional. So it's not just flat. And actually, if we wanted to, we could walk all the way around a sculpture and see it from every different side. This sculpture just arrived here at the museum not too long ago, and it doesn't belong to this museum. It belongs to another museum, and we're just borrowing it for a little while.
Oh, and that's what museums do sometimes. Yeah. They loan things from their collection and they borrow things.
Exactly.
Just like the library. You come to the library and you borrow something, and then sometimes we loan out books that we have to another library. So
exactly.
I love this sculpture.
I do
it's
too.
by David Smith, who has done a lot of sculptures.
Yeah.
What is this made out of?
That's a good question. I guess to find that out, we would want to find the label
for
this sculpture. And in this gallery, we don't have the labels right on the wall. We have little numbers on the wall, but you can find that
is
number.
number 6.
It's number 6. So why don't you look for number 6 on there and see if it tells us what it's made out of. Labels are a really good way to find out information about the things that are in the museum.
The title is March Sentinel by David Smith. It's made out of stainless steel, and it's part of the Art Bridges collection. And David Smith worked at Bennington College, and lots of us know where that is, and lots of us have been to that college in our own community. So David came and worked at a college that we know so well.
Yeah. Or at least he was friends with a lot of people that worked at the college, and he spent a lot of time in Bennington and North Bennington and at the college there. So when I talk about this particular sculpture, I would say that this is a temporary exhibit. That means that it's just here for a little while. Bennington Museum has temporary exhibits all the time. Sometimes they're things from our own collection, and sometimes we borrow things from other collections. Then we have other things that are a little more permanent. That means that they're here forever.
Well, we're lucky to have this, so come and see it. It'll be here for a little while.
Be here for about 2 years.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're borrowing it for a while.
That's a pretty long time.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see something that's part of your permanent collection.
Sure.
Because it's something that I count on seeing every time I'm here.
And it's one of my favorite things. Follow me.
Here it is, the wasp.
This is the Martin wasp, and this is a part of Bennington's permanent collection, which means that we will have this object, this car, for a long, 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 long time, possibly forever, even if it's not in this same space. And in a couple of years, it's probably not going to be in this same space anymore. It'll be in a different place in the museum. But it's part of our permanent collection.
So you can count on seeing it whenever you come. And you just have to find it.
You just have to find it. And one really good thing about the wasp is that it's so big that it doesn't fit in our storage area. So it probably won't be hidden from view.
And what makes it special as part of Bennington's history?
It was made right here in Bennington. And it's the only car that was made for sale in Vermont.
Oh.
And it was a really fancy car even back then. It was the kind of car that movie stars and really wealthy people would have bought.
That probably wouldn't include a librarian.
No,
And
not a museum educator.
Museum
either.
educator. But we can appreciate it.
Absolutely. Sometimes I like to just imagine what it would be like to drive this car or to be a passenger in this car.
You'd have to dress in fancy clothes.
Definitely. You'd have to dress in fancy clothes, and you'd have to wait for a sunny day because if you noticed, the roof doesn't cover the whole car.
Today would not be a good day.
No, it's rainy outside today. I don't think we'd want to take this car out for a drive today. Like I said before, when you are trying to find out about things that are in the museum, one really good way to do that is by looking for the object's label.
Right.
So this is a painting. And I can tell by looking at it that it's a painting of a child, but I can't really tell that much more about it. So I might look for a label like this one. And it's got a lot of information on it, and it tells us that this child is Lumen Preston Norton. Lumen is a name I haven't really heard before. I'm not sure if that's a boy's name or a girl's name. And it tells us some things about the painter and when it was made and all of that. But at Bennington Museum, we have a whole different set of labels too. And they look more like this one over here. They're a little more colorful. And sometimes they tell us different things about the painting. And they're meant to be a little easier to read so that kids and their families can read them and get some questions answered, or maybe ask themselves a few new questions. And this tells us that this child in the painting is a boy.
Oh, right.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Why was I surprised about that? Well, because he's dressed in a dress. And more often I think of little girls wearing dresses than little boys. But back then, boys and girls were dressed the same until they were about 5 years old. And that's what it tells us on that label.
Ah, I see.
It says, long ago, boys and girls dressed the same until they were about 5 years old when boys started wearing pants.
I love that the boy in the painting is holding a little toy bird.
A little bird,
Yeah.
I was thinking about my friends at the Clark. I know you visited them not too long ago, and I think you looked at a painting of another child holding a bird, didn't you?
We did. So that's a common pairing, I think, with children.
I wonder why so many children were holding birds.
Maybe to keep them still.
Oh, maybe.
And I bet Lumen had to pose for this for a long time.
Probably did. I wonder if it was hard to get a child that young. What do you think? Maybe he's 2 years old or 3 years old?
Yeah, he looks about 3 to me.
I wonder if it was hard to get him to stay still for that long.
Oh, yeah. This is another one of my favorites in the museum, and I love that it is in the early Vermont Gallery because he's part of our early Vermont history in Bennington.
And you know, sometimes when we think about early Vermont or early anywhere, we think a lot about the grown-ups, right?
Yeah.
But we have to remember there were children here too, and think about what their lives were like and what kinds of clothes they wore and what kinds of toys they might have played with. And how they might have had to stand very still for long periods of time to have their portraits painted. Because they didn't have cameras like we do today.
No.
Where else would you like to go?
Well, if we're talking about painters who've come to Bennington, I would love to see the Grandma Moses paintings.
I think that's a great idea. They're on the first floor, so we'll have to go back downstairs for that.
Okay.
So this is the Grandma Moses Gallery.
Wow.
And Grandma Moses was a very, very famous painter. And she lived most of her life in Eagle Bridge, New York, which is not too far away. And Bennington Museum actually has the largest collection of her paintings in the whole world. And we have a whole bunch of her stuff too.
And as part of that, I noticed that the walls were like a violet color.
They are. Yeah, this purple is sort of a lavender purple. And it was Grandma Moses's favorite color.
Oh my.
So we painted the walls her favorite color.
So think of the color of your room. Would you want it this color? What color is your room? I bet Grandma Moses would have loved knowing that her special gallery was lavender. Right?
I think you're right. And Grandma Moses, you know, she lived around here, and she lived most of her life on farms, like a lot of people around here do. And so she painted lots of pictures of farms and people working on farms and farm animals, and also some things that she really liked around her neighborhood. And I want to show you one painting of one of Grandma Moses's favorite things and one of her favorite things to paint. This painting is called The Old Checkered House, 1853.
That's wild.
Now, she didn't paint it in 1853 because she wasn't born until 1860.
Oh.
So the 1853 is part of the title. So she's imagining this house.
It's so much fun to imagine
back
another
in time. But she painted this in 1944. She painted this in 1944, which was almost 40 years after that house burned down. But it was a real house that she would have remembered from her childhood.
Got it.
And it was in Cambridge, New York. And it was really painted in a checkerboard pattern.
Oh, that's wild.
And I think she, as a young person, even though she never thought she was going to become a professional painter, I think she kind of had that artist feeling inside of her. And I'll bet every time she saw that house, she just loved it because it was so colorful. And she loved bright colors, which you can see in a lot of her paintings. But can you imagine how much work it was to paint each of those little squares?
I can't imagine.
And then imagine somebody painted that on a full-size house, too.
I can't imagine. But apparently, Grandma Moses remembered it from her childhood.
That's right. Now, one thing that I like to let people know about Grandma Moses is that she was a pretty good artist, and she was really good at painting the landscape. We say landscape when we're talking about a painting of a scene outdoors. And she was really good at painting like the farm fields and the hills. And you know how when you look at the hills around here, they kind of change color as they go off in the distance. But she was not really good at painting things like horses and wagons and people. But she wanted those things in her paintings. And she was a pretty smart lady. She said, well, it doesn't matter if I'm no good at painting those things because other people are. And you know what she did? She collected images, pictures, her whole life. She cut them out of newspapers and calendars and things. Magazines. Probably. And when she was making a painting like this one, if she knew she wanted a little horse and buggy in it, she'd go through her little box of pictures until she found just the right one, and then she'd figure out where she wanted it, and then she traced them.
How clever.
Isn't that smart?
Yes, it is.
So when you see these nicely drawn horses and cows and even people in her paintings, most of them are traced.
Got it. Okay.
But before she became an artist, a professional artist, when she was just kind of painting things around her house for fun, she sometimes didn't even do that. Sometimes she took those things that she'd cut out of magazines and newspapers and she glued them right onto.
Kind of like we do with collage.
Exactly. And I want to show you the one piece we have where I can show you some things that she glued on there.
Okay.
Grandma Moses is a really fun person to learn and talk about, so I could talk about her for hours. But I'll try not to. So this is a table that Grandma Moses had in her family, and she had it in her house. And one day she decided she was going to paint it to make it, a little more decorative.
Special.
So we can see she painted some clouds and some plants and trees in the background. But then if we look carefully at these cows down here, you can see where my shadow is there. If you look really carefully at them, you can tell that they've been cut out from something and glued on there. And the same is true about this building here. That's been cut out and glued on. And on the other side, there's a group of sheep that when you look at them, you can tell she's cut them out too.
You want to show me?
Yeah.
I've never noticed that about this.
You might not notice unless somebody told you.
Oh, there we are.
You see the sheep there? And if you look really closely, you can see the line of where it was cut out and glued on. There's another little secret about this table.
Tell me.
It's another one of those things that you have to be told. Unless you're very, very small, and then you might discover it on your own.
Okay.
Because if we get down on our knees and look underneath here, there's writing on it.
There is.
And that's something that Grandma Moses wrote on it. It says, the old McMurray dining table made for the old log house in 1762.
Oh, wow.
So this table
is really an old
It is.
piece.
Remember I said Grandma Moses was born in 1860?
Yeah.
So this table
was
already almost 100 years old when she was born.
Yeah.
And then she lived to be 101 years old.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
Now, she almost
those
always
stories.
painted really bright, happy scenes. She wanted people to look at her paintings and feel happy. But there's one painting in here that's a little bit different. It's a little bit spooky. And it's right behind us. And this painting is called Halloween. And it's really different than a lot of her paintings because it's nighttime. In this painting. You can see the dark colors in the sky, and it looks like the moon is maybe a full moon peeking through the clouds.
Halloween moon.
And look at all of the crazy things that are going on in this painting. There are people bobbing for apples down in the left-hand corner. There are ghosts flying around. And there's people playing all kinds of pranks. If we look over here, there's somebody putting a cart of some sort onto somebody's roof. And on the other roof, they're putting chairs in the chimneys. I guess that must have been a trick that people played back then.
Was that a thing?
Yeah. And then there's ghosts flying around too. So it's one of her more spooky paintings. But even though it's a little spooky, it's still pretty playful. Yeah. I think there's so many things going on in there that make me giggle a little bit.
Yeah, me too. I love it.
Since we're talking
I love Halloween.
Oh, me too. It's my favorite holiday.
Me too. I love the candy, and I love dressing up.
You know what, though? Grandma Moses liked winter best.
Yeah.
She painted a lot of winter scenes, and when she did, she wanted her snow to sparkle.
Oh.
Just like snow sparkles when the sun shines on it in real life. And you know what she did with her snowy paintings?
What?
She put glitter in them.
Oh,
to make them sparkle.
that's perfect. That is perfect. We sometimes use glitter too when we're doing story time.
Glitter can be fun.
Snowy winter story times.
Yes, it makes your snow sparkle.
And it makes you happy.
Why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah.
Can I bring you to the Grandma Moses schoolhouse?
Absolutely. I can't
All
wait.
right, let's go check it out. It's right down the hall here. I brought you here last because this is my favorite spot in the whole museum. This was a real one-room schoolhouse, and it used to be in Eagle Bridge, New York, which is where Grandma Moses lived when she was a kid, and later again when she was an adult.
Yeah.
And she actually went to school in this one-room schoolhouse.
Oh.
And so did a bunch of her kids and her grandchildren.
Oh my goodness.
I think even some of her great-grandchildren.
Amazing. I love the feeling in here.
It is. It's kind of cozy,
light.
right?
Yes, yes.
And then the whole building was moved to the museum to Bennington.
Oh, fun.
In the 1970s. And now it's our hands-on area for kids. So you can come in here and we've got some toys you can play with over here. We've got a whole big trunk full of dress-up clothes right over here. So if you want to dress up in old-fashioned clothes, you can do that. We've got all kinds of books, and these are books that you and I are very familiar with.
Yes, we are.
We've used many of these books in our museum ABC program.
Yeah.
There's even a couple in here that have been illustrated by Grandma Moses, and illustrators are the ones who draw the pictures in the books. And so this is a book that was illustrated with Grandma Moses paintings.
Beautiful.
I also like this space because sometimes we have special little projects that you can work on. Yeah.
Can you show us a couple?
Sure. So right now we have one that I just put out here just today. And right now we have an exhibit on the first floor that is one of those temporary exhibits. It's only up for a little while, and then something else will go there. But it's all about the kinds of sewing that children, mostly girls, did when they were young, and they would learn how to stitch their ABCs and practice their numbers.
So that's why you have needles
and some yarn,
some beautiful yarns, and
so folks can come in here and they can
practice
sewing themselves, and we've got all kinds of different ways that they can do that. This one's probably closest to the way that little girls made their sewing projects years ago, but we've got lots of other fun ways to do that in here too.
And look at these. These are fun. This looks like a real old-fashioned toy.
Yeah, and I like them because they're so colorful.
Yeah. So kids of all ages can find things to do in here.
Absolutely.
Just like in a one-room schoolhouse where kids of all ages went to school together and found different ways of learning.
And like most museums, in the rest of the museum, you're not supposed to touch things because they can get damaged, right? And because some of them are so old. And the reason that they've been able to, that we can still see them today is because we take really, really good care of them and are very careful with them. But everything in here you can touch and you can play with. Even some of the things that are really old, like these old desks. We could actually sit in these desks and check out some of these old books and even write on the slate boards.
Just like they did.
Just like they did back
when
then.
Grandma Moses was a little
Practice
girl.
my letters. Sometimes people leave us little notes on these boards. The one right behind us here. Somebody made,
Let me see.
I don't know if you can see it, but somebody made a little picture of a girl. And sometimes people write their names. This one says, Jane and Jed and a Jeep, love Vermont.
A little poem.
So I like looking at those every week to see
Yeah.
if anyone's left us any messages.
Well, this is often where we come when we're doing Museum ABCs, when Dina and I do a program once a month. And it's for 3 to 6-year-olds. And each month we have a different theme. And sometimes we do our art projects in this room.
Right, especially in the colder weather.
Yeah.
We like to go outside too when we can in the summertime.
Yeah, that's pretty soon. We'll be looking at sculpture.
On the trails outside.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know that we have 10 acres out here, and there's trails that you can walk on, and sometimes we even put a trail tale out there.
That's right.
You can read a story while you walk.
That'll be happening in August.
That's
again.
right.
Yeah. So, and there's a pavilion there, and we have a special program in August coming with Southern Vermont Natural History Museum, and they are going to bring some of their raptors.
I can't wait.
We'll read owl stories and maybe a story about a hawk.
And then we get to meet some owls in person, right?
That's
some
right.
real ones.
They're live.
That's going to be exciting.
Yeah. So stay tuned. It's on the library's website. It's on the museum's website. So we hope families come to that. Does it cost any money?
No, it doesn't. Museum ABCs is sponsored by the Bank of Bennington and by Stewart's Shops. And that makes it so that we don't have to charge families to participate in it.
It's all free.
Yeah, anyone can come.
And so is the fun.
That's right.
Well, Dina, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. It's so nice to see you.
It's great to be here. And I always think of the museum being at one end of Main Street and the library being at the other end of Main Street. And it's like children and families are getting a big hug.
I like that idea.
Yeah. So we'll see you again.
All right.
And we hope children come and visit this very special museum and say hello to Dina and come and check out books about Grandma Moses and
art,
right?
And I bet you probably have some books about Bennington in your library too.
Lots. So see you soon.
All right.